Hello sir, my name is Petriselenya Ana Arin from 80220 CA. In this video presentation, I will begin with the introduction to the earthquake and briefly explain the three types of the earthquake. Earthquakes are one of the natural disasters that could give big impact to the population size, destructions of the building, and increase the homeless people. So earthquake can be described as a sudden movement across fault lines that release elastic energy stored in the rocks and emit seismic waves that spread across the earth. Basically, earthquakes are happening every single day due to the earth are called as tectonic plates that constantly move, but we cannot feel the movement as the magnitude is small, which is below 2. Earthquakes are not worse natural disaster if the magnitude are below 2, which can be detected through seismograms, but it able to destroy the ecosystem, including affect the world population if the magnitude is reached until 9.5 to 10. For example, recently in 2023, Turkey and Syria are facing earthquakes which recorded killed more than 50,000 people with a magnitude of 6.3. In the world history, the worst earthquake was in 1960, which took place in Valdivia, southern Chile. According to the resource, the magnitude of 9.5 has been killed about 1,655 people, left 2 million people homeless, 3,000 people injured, and the economic damage was approximately $550 million. Therefore, earthquakes are natural disasters that could affect the number of world population, as it could kill many lives, not only through the quakes, but the seismic wave that result from the sudden movement within the earth could lead to other natural disasters such as volcanic eruptions, landslides, tsunami, and avalanches. Briefly, the earth structure is made up of 3 layers, which is the crust, mantle, and the core. Crust is the Earth's outer layer, and it composed of solid rocks such as basalt and granite. There are 2 forms of earth crust, which is continental and oceanic crust. Continental crust is 25 miles or 40 km in thickness and break down into 15 main tectonic plates that rigid in the center and have geological activities such as earthquakes and volcanoes at their boundaries. In addition, earth crust contains all types of the rock, including igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic, whereas oceanic crust, which is found beneath the ocean, are mainly made up of basalt rocks. It is approximately 4 miles or 7 kilometers in thickness. Second layer is mantle, which is located under the crust. It is made of thick, solid, and rocky substance. The mantle is the region of the hot, slow-moving solid rock and up to 1,800 miles or 2,900 km thick. Between the crust and the upper parts of the mantle, there are one outermost rigid rock layer which is known as lithosphere layer. It was 100 km thick and was made up of plates which is known as plate tectonics. The third layer is the core, which is located at the center of the earth. Core are divided into 2 parts, which is the liquid outer core and solid inner core. Liquid outer core is made up of iron, nickel, and molten rock, which is also known as lava, whereby the solid inner core is made up of iron. The temperature at the liquid outer core can reach up to 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit and 13,000 degrees Fahrenheit at the solid inner core. In a simple word, divergence is where the 2 plates are moving apart and resulting in the formation of the new rock. Meanwhile, convergence is where 2 plates are moved toward each other and crush, which resulting in a quake. It is because when 2 plates collide with each other, the pressure built up in the earth's crust along a fault line. Then, when the plates are moved at the fault line, this pressure will release and lead to the tremendous shaking of the earth's surface, which is known as a quake. The 2 types of plate boundaries is transformed, where 2 plates are slide past each other. This occurrence occurs when the jagged edges of the plate's boundaries snag and get jammed when the plates are moved. Basically, earthquake can be divided into 3 main types, which is tectonic, volcanic, and explosive. Tectonic earthquake is the common types of the earthquake in the world. Tectonic earthquake usually occurs due to the tectonic plates that either collide or slide past each other, in which this situation could lead to the massive earthquake erupts. It is said that if the magnitude is high enough, which reaches until 7.0 to 8.0, it could bring down an entire city. For example, in 2011, Japan was hit with a huge and violent earthquake in which the magnitude of 9.0 was claimed more than 18,500 lives, destroying the building, and the worst scenario was it triggered the tsunami. Second type is volcanic, in which it takes place before and after an eruption. Briefly, volcanic earthquake come in two forms, which is volcano-tectonic earthquake and long-period volcanic. Volcano-tectonic earthquakes often occurs after the volcanic eruptions. During the volcanic activity, the magma frequently plugs the vent and makes the high pressure fuel to be released. When the pressure becomes unbearable, it will explode in tremendous explosions and causes a horrible earthquake. Meanwhile, for long-period volcanic, the magma beneath the earth crust undergoes dramatic temperature variations few days before the enormous explosions. The shift in the temperature causes the seismic wave, which results in an earthquake. Third is explosive earthquake, which is triggered by underground explosions of nuclear or chemical device. Massive amounts of nuclear energy are released when a nuclear device explodes underground in a borehole. One example of the explosive earthquake is Fukushima nuclear disaster, where this accident took place at Okuma, Fukushima, Japan on March 2011. According to the news, this accident killed almost 20,000 people, with some of them died due to radiation exposure, some of them physical injury, and almost 10,000 of people in Fukushima was evacuated.
Assalamualaikum sir, I'm Sharifah Noazrin binti Wan Mahda from 80206A. As for this video, I will present about the main causes that trigger earthquake and the process during earthquake. Now, I will explain about the main causes of earthquake. So, what are the things that can trigger earthquake? The first one is movement or shifting of the tectonic plates. For your information, the earth crust, which is the top layer of the earth, is made up of 7 large and small tiny tectonic plates. There is a liquid mantle exists beneath the earth crust. Due to the convection currents in the earth's mantle, the plates begin to move and float on top of the earth. In 1 year, they can travel a few inches away from one another, pass each other or towards each other and collide, so the resulting friction will create enormous pressure. If the pressure grows too great, the tension releases with a harsh jolt and the earth shakes. When the tectonic plates move, this can be considered as a geological fault, which can lead to the breaking of the earth's crust and resulting in an earthquake. Actually, the tectonic plates are always slowly moving, but they can get stuck at their edges due to the friction. So, when the pressure on the edges wants to overcome the friction, an earthquake occurs, releasing energy in the form of waves that travel through the earth's crust and generate the shaking that we experience. The second cause that can trigger earthquake is volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruptions can vary in strength. For your information, a long-period earthquakes that triggered by volcanoes are created by the vibration caused by the flow of magma or other fluids within the volcano. As a pressure within the system rises, the surrounding rock will fall and this will result in earthquake. Volcanic tectonic earthquake can also be triggered by the fault slide near a volcano. Actually, majority of volcanic tectonic earthquakes have nothing to do with the volcano's magmatic system, and it occurs as a result of regional strain exerted in an area of the weak fault. Other than that, when a magma is removed from the system, an empty space is left to be filled. As a result, the surrounding rock collapses to fill the void and causing earthquake. The third cause that can trigger earthquake is underground explosion. An underground explosion's pressure wave will spread through the ground and this can cause earthquake. It is known as one of the common source of seismic wave. Small explosions are usually used for mining, quarrying, road excavating, and other construction applications. As for large explosions, it includes nuclear tests, which generate waves powerful enough to be seen on the other side of the planet. Although naturally occurring explosive or implosive sources are uncommon, some may develop as a result of metastable mineralogical phase transition or magmatic processes. Human activities can also trigger earthquake. As people keep extracting the resources from the earth, the natural balance of the land will be disturbed to such an extent that it is shifting. Here are an example of the activities that can increasing the chances of earthquake. The first one is mining project. Nowadays, industries that involve mining activities are digging deeper in the earth crust than ever before. As a result, there are so many rocks and other materials are being removed from the earth, which resulting in instability in the ground and triggering earthquake. Unfortunately, many of the world's dams are built in earthquake-prone areas. Large reservoirs of water can trigger earthquakes due to the stress that built up in the ground. The stress usually caused by the wave of the water on top of it. Reservoir can also trigger earthquakes since it can increase the groundwater pore pressure, thus weaken the geology beneath the reservoir. Earthquakes induced by reservoir typically occur only in areas where tectonic strike energy has already accumulated in the earth. The additional water pressure just caused this stored energy to be released earlier. The last one is disposal of wastewater. The disposal of wastewater produced in the fracking process also causes quakes. This wastewater is the byproduct of sand, water, and chemicals used to fracture hydrocarbon from rock. The fluid that injected at depth is usually hydraulically linked to the fault. When this occurs, fluid pressure within the fault increases, counteracting the frictional forces on fault. This will increase the possibility of earthquakes happening on them. Let's move to the next part, which is process during earthquake. So, what actually happened during earthquake? An earthquake starts with a hypocenter and the rupture front develops along the fault, so this will producing wave as it goes. Since shaking occurs everywhere when a front crosses, longer fault produce stronger earthquake with longer duration. As earthquake waves weaken as they travel through the ground, earthquake shaking become less powerful as one moves away from the fault. So, the low-frequency wave diminish less rapidly with distance than do high-frequency wave. Actually, the amount of damage to a building does not depend solely on how hard it is shaken. As for distance, smaller buildings such as houses are damaged more by higher frequencies. So, usually houses must be relatively close to the hypocenter to be severely damaged. In addition to this, larger structures such as high-rises and bridges are damaged more by lower frequency and will be more noticeably affected by largest earthquakes even at considerable distance. So that's all from me. Thank you.
First, let me introduce myself. I am Adeline Liliana Anakrolen. So today we will be diving into a fascinating topic, the effect of earthquakes and how to overcome it. Without further ado, let's dive right in and explore this topic. Several strong earthquakes that destroyed the cities and wreaked devastation on our immediate environment have occurred throughout the history. The impacts of earthquakes can be grouped into primary impacts and secondary impacts. Primary effects of earthquake can be explained by the surface rupture along the fault and ground shaking caused by the earthquake energy release. It depends on the magnitude of the earthquake and the stress environment. Subsidence is one of the primary impacts of the earthquake, which means the shifting of the Earth's surface from a higher to a lower location with relation to a given datum. In a simple word, it can be explained as abrupt Earth surface sinking. According to observation, it is said that liquefaction of sand also can trigger subsidence to occur and cause serious problems. The impacts from subsidence that triggered by earthquake affected the rock structure, landforms, and coastlines development in tectonically active areas and hence altering the configuration of coastal. It may lead to changes in elevation and slope, damage of roads and buildings. Let's move to secondary impacts of earthquakes. Secondary impact is effects that occur in the natural environment that result from earthquake shaking and energy release such as tsunami wave or landslides. Tsunami occurs due to earthquakes, volcanic eruption or landslides. The water waves travel from deeper waters to shallow waters at the coastline, slowing the waves, increasing the amplitude and resulting in large destructive waves. For instance, two large earthquakes that occurred, namely the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, had caused many fatalities and economic losses. Furthermore, landslides are one of the secondary impacts of earthquakes. It is a massive movement of rocks, debris or top layer of soil down a slope which is aided by the action of gravity. Sometimes, the destruction caused by landslides exceeds the damage caused by ground shaking. The source of clean water will be affected when it occurs near streams or rivers and cause people unable to get clean water and adequate of food. Apart from the listed effects, healthcare system also affected. The earthquake has caused damage to hospitals and health clinics and result in the shortage of medical facilities for injured and displaced people. For instance, earthquake in both Turkey and Syria had caused major effect on healthcare system and it had killed more than 33,000 people and thousands were injured. Due to this, nurses and doctors have had to work long hours to treat the injured people and provide healthcare for them. Moreover, the traumatic experience has a psychological impact on the population as the survivors are experiencing high levels of stress, anxiety, and fear. Providing a decision support system (DSS) by the government can help in overcoming the earthquake. DSS is an information technology environment that the government can utilize to improve the decision-making process for earthquake mitigation. This system was adopted by Indonesian government as earthquake always occur at that country. Therefore, the government adopts the system to ensure it can help the community in preparation for the earthquake. Earthquake DSS can be provided by the government, which is not only for the government itself but also to ensure each citizen obtaining right for education, training and knowledge on earthquakes and the survival measure. Besides, providing education about earthquakes to the community, especially to students, can help to reduce the risk. A seismology education program is suitable to raise earthquake awareness and enhance the preparations. At each school, this education should be introduced by teaching earthquake-related topics in the classrooms and practicing training to teachers and the students as well. The students need to know the safety steps that must be taken if an earthquake happens and understand the do's and don'ts during that natural disaster. Apart from the students, it is necessary to spread the awareness to the community as well to ensure they can be prepared in facing this natural disaster. So we hope this video will be informative and enjoyable. Thank you.